President Muhammadu Buhari has stated that illicit funds are responsible for the high rate of insecurity in Africa. And also, does the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, have a server which it transmits its results for the February 23rd presidential elections or not? Well, a Kenyan ICT expert says it does. And of course, we're going to be talking about the CJN and the job or the task that is ahead of him. I'm Maryann Okon, and this is Plus Politics. President Muhammadu Buhari has stated that illicit funds are responsible for the high rate of insecurity in Africa. Now, he stated this at the opening session of the 16th conference of the Committee of Intelligence and Security Services of Africa, CISCA. Now, the president attributed the rising security challenges in Nigeria to sponsorship by those who profit from illegal financial activities. He also added that the development and stability on the African continent had been undermined by illicit outflows estimated to be about $60 billion annually. I wonder if this is true, but well, joining me to analyze this, I have Obi Ajebo. She is a legal practitioner. I wanted to say he's. And of course, we have Barrister Demi Louis. We have two learned gentlemen in the studio. It's good to have you join us. All right. I'll start with you. The president is making an interesting point here, saying illicit funds, and he's pegged it at about $60 million. Now, a question was asked off camera: is it the monies that are coming in, or is it monies that are going out? But he's saying that these are monies from illicit businesses. So it could have been from, let's say, guns, selling of guns. It could be from the Yahoo business, which we know is a lot in Nigeria. But he's saying that this is what is fueling insecurity in the country. How does that tie?
Actually, you need to understand the language of the intelligence community when they gather together and talking about financial flows coming for terrorism. At that conference, it's clear that they are frankly talking about the financial transactions that we have seen coming, giving support to the kind of terrorist activity we have seen, not only in West Africa, as we have seen with ISWAP in Nigeria, popularly called Boko Haram, that the Islamic State of West Africa province, but also in places like Somalia, in the Horn of Africa, where you are also seeing those kind of interventions. But those illicit financial flows come essentially from, if you ask me, from the Far East, where you have the oil barons who also have come under the spell of the idea of creating a global Islamic government. So I've seen exemplified in the case of Osama bin Laden, who gave a financial backbone to what happened in 2011. And we're also seeing the development of ISIS, which with its own financial fortress. But more essentially is the fact that within Nigeria itself, we are also seeing that unmonitored money laundering and illicit financial flows that have helped terrorism locally in Nigeria. When
you say unmonitored, because I mean we have ICPC, we have the EFCC, they're saddled with that responsibility. So there should be close to little or nothing of money laundering business visual, because you're saying you could actually see, you can tell. I'm wondering, are they not doing their jobs? Because we also have been able to plug loopholes, like with the treasury single account. One would hope that would work, at least to reduce the level of money laundering in this country.
In the world of covert intelligence, it's clear that the kind of status which establish EFCC and ICPC, of course, relates to money laundering. But in the language of that conference, they were referring majorly to the activities of the Nigerian Intelligence Agency and the Department of State Security. But these state spy agencies even have limitations as to the level they can go in tracking illicit financial funding for terrorism. Why I say that is this: the terrorists themselves are also very clever. Of course, they use front accounts. They also use front businesses to run some of these operations. But when essentially is the kind of industry that has emerged in Nigeria, which is the ransom industry, in which we have seen commercialized kidnappings and even financially funded cattle rustling, as we have seen in the present period. And that boils down to the essential question that what exactly is responsible for the incapacity of the state agencies to track some of all these supposed
okay, I wanted to answer that question because if we have these agencies that have been created by law to literally come after people who are engaged in illicit funds or money laundering and the likes, and that same law also bars them from taking certain steps, then should we not be revisiting our law books?
First of all, the crime is big business.
Everywhere in the world, I guess.
Kidnapping is big business, and war is a bigger business. Sometimes it's best to keep the war alive so that the funds will come out. You'll be buying ammunition and doing all these things and deploying it. And any life that is lost is called collateral damage. Now, crime is big business. Kidnapping, if one does kidnapping and you catch a big fish, you make like 100 million and you do that. Everybody knows from Evans how much he was making. Some people were paying ransom in $1 million. And you now imagine a lone person from, let's say, a poverty-stricken country like Chad comes into Nigeria and gets into that business. The person will not want to leave Nigeria. And then also, now the question you asked me is the security agencies. First of all, our security agencies, their hands are tied. Because I see pictures, you all see pictures of them arresting Fulani headsmen. You see them arresting some people. The major kidnapper that has been arrested in Nigeria that we all know of is Evans. Now, what happened to the others? Now, these people they caught, how are we sure they will get to trial? What happens to them? And now a policeman risks his life and he does that, and if that person gets out, the first person the person will hit is the policeman because he knows him. Two, the police are policemen. Sometimes I look at them, I feel for them. If you look at police on special duties, and you look at the everyday policemen, they are miles apart, they're worlds apart. The one on special duties is so well dressed and you could see that life is good for them. But the one on the road, they're just battered. And then also the issue of peer pressure. Oga, we catch this person. Oga, we get a call. Hold that person for me. Hold action. I'm just talking hypothetically. I don't know. I've never been in the police force. And they'll say, okay. And then before you know it, you say, Oga will say, don't worry, I'll handle it. And the subordinate cannot go to Oga and say, let us take this person. The person must go to court. The person must do this. There are a lot of... So when people are blaming the police, please don't blame them too much. Their hands are tied.
So let's go back to funding. Because nobody would stay in a business that is not booming.
Yes.
Now, let's not forget that kidnapping didn't start today. It's a business that has been there for a while. But then it has been growing because... there have been a lot of ransom paying, ransom taking, and it's more like, you know, even with the police, you still negotiate ransom. So it brings us back to the police that you're saying we shouldn't blame. If we're saying let's not negotiate, for example, in quotes, with these terrorists or outsiders who they say are the ones who are terrorizing our borders, and these guys within, I mean, I hear that every highway now, people, for example, the Port Harcourt-Ilede highway, they stop a whole bus of people, take them into the bush, and ask them to make calls and call family members to bring ransoms. So it means that there is no industry. But right before those places where they pick people up, there are police checkpoints. So I'm wondering, are they complicit? Or is it that these guys now know how our security apparatus works, so they take advantage of the lapses?
Very well. It's clear. Of course, our security apparatus is quite weak, based on the fact
But they would say the opposite. They would not agree with you.
Number one, they are ill-equipped. Number two, they are also, the remuneration is very poor too, and all that. But more essentially is the fact that we have on our hands an escalating security problem that is deeply rooted in the fact that we have arguably the highest unemployment rates in the world. Now, what we are saying
well,
is
the poverty capital of
yes,
the world right now.
The unconventional army of unemployed youths trying to make a living for themselves through kidnapping. There's no conventional army that, or no matter how sophisticated that army could be, that can win a war with an army using unconventional methods. So obviously we are in a very complex situation. But getting rid of the situation is about addressing the fundamentals, about the question of fixing the power sector, the question of mass industrialization, putting as many people into employment, taking off the unemployed people off the streets, and then you can start talking about no matter how sophisticated our security apparatus may be, no matter the millions of dollars or naira being pumped on them, without resolving the fundamentals, we are going to still have a bigger insecurity problem on our hands.
So the fact that we lack infrastructure and we lack the basic amenities is fueling, in his words, the rise in crime. So if we were to deal with, take for example, the light issue, which I don't know what year we will be able to fix our power, but let's just say, for example, government decides to deal with, say we're going to give a lot of young people jobs. Do you think that that would, one way or the other, reduce drastically the number of kidnappings and all the insecurity we have in Nigeria?
First of all, we had pocket kidnapping. Now we have crystallized kidnapping. We have kidnapping that armed men will come on the road and start spraying. Before they target you, they tail you and they get you. But now it is an all-comers. You take your phone and check your bank balance, and then they now start telling you, give us your ATM and do that. That is very cheeky kidnapping. But the kidnapping used to have a sophisticated kidnapping before. High network people that you can collect solid money from. Now the cheeky kidnapping, they started by one set of people, but now there are copycats. Because with everything, there will always be copycats. So now the issue has now gotten wider. So now I told somebody that there's a name I give something. It's called Power Up Nigeria.
Power Up Nigeria.
Power Up Nigeria. When you power up Nigeria, if you know you have light 24/7, these youths that you're saying are lazy, you see that they will now start, they can now have small business and say, because the typical Nigerian is a hustler. It is when they hustle and fail, and they get frustrated that they now take to other things.
But there are people who also might want to deviate, or rather disagree with you. That not every person who is unemployed is lazy, because it's a choice. Some people say it's a choice. You choose to want to get into sharp practices or hustle, like you say, try to come up with creative ideas on how to make, a living.
Can I say something? The youths I have met, there's no lazy person I have met. Maybe because of where I go to or the places I go to, there's no lazy person. They are either doing one thing or the other. But out of every 100, there'll be 5 or 10 of them that says, this country hard, man, no get anything. But I told somebody one day, do you know, if you buy a bag of pure water, 100 naira, and sell it, you make about 100 naira, 200 naira. If you keep buying 2 or 3 bags of pure water, in a week, you've made about 1,500 or 2,000. And in a month, you've made about 8,000, 10,000. Then you now go on, let me add mineral to this. And then before you know it, you've turned into a supermarket. Good things start small.
But we have very little time. You know, Nigerians go, I see people come up with ideas of seminars, workshops, business expos, trying to, you know, they leave those places feeling very vibrated or vibrant rather. My English is terrible today. You know, but you know, they feel empowered, but then they get back home and their reality stares them again in the face. So it's really tough. Yes, not everybody might be great at doing business. Some of them have other ideas, but who's there to support them? Sometimes they even complain that those business ideas are stolen from them.
Is it Mr. Elumelu?
Tony Elumelu
has
a foundation.
A foundation, and I have a lot of friends that have benefited from that foundation.
But it's not for everybody, unfortunately.
That is one foundation. And if you look around, there'll be other foundations. You have to keep trying. You don't just say, because I met a brick wall here, that I'll sit back. You have to keep trying till you succeed. There's a young man that in my church, we have a seminar. So they were talking, the young man got up and said, blah, 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 that my generation is not enjoying a lot that the other generation enjoyed, that they have things, they have this, they have this. He wants to study. I said, have you gone to the web? Have you looked at the schools and countries that still give scholarships? So I've been mentoring him, and then all of a sudden, last week, 2 weeks ago, he told me he's now in Benin. He's gotten a job as a university lecturer. That's a success story.
Okay. And last thing.
Well, of course, there can be one or two success stories, people trying to break even in a very complex situation. But we are going to, we are in a situation where if we don't resolve a whole lot of processes, a whole lot of fundamentals, we still recoil to the same position. Of course, maybe 1 out of 1,000 can be able to climb the greasy pool and all that. But what happens to the 999? They have to find their way one way or the other and all that, without putting in the appropriate infrastructure, without resolving our unemployment gap. And when I talk about unemployment, of course, maybe somebody can start a bakery, baking cakes at that small business level. What Nigeria needs, the staggering unemployment population we need today, it needs a massive industrialization scheme that can take at least minimum of 50 million people into employment within a year.
Sorry, could I ask who would finance the industrialization?
Well, my answer to that is that what that means is that the staggering wealth that is being enjoyed at remuneration today by the tiny elite in Nigeria will have to be expropriated for that means.
And my question is, who's going to make that happen? Exactly. Who's going to make that happen?
We need to put the right prayer on the right people. But if those, at the same time, we need to build the necessary social and political movement to make that to happen.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that we can put the necessary pressure on the people who are in power to see if they could, shift grounds. But we'll take a short break. These learned gentlemen are not going anywhere. We'll be back and we'll be speaking of the new Chief Justice of Nigeria and the task ahead of him. Stay with us.